In this session, we're going to look at three primary areas: the engineering of the universe, the engineering of time, and the engineering of man. This is a very high-level view that will brush over the basics. There is so much to each of the topics discussed that it would require many hours to unpack it all, so we will just give a brief introduction to help set the stage for the final topic, which is the engineering of man. This session puts together many strands from many sources into what I hope will be an insightful look at how we as human beings are made, that we are so much more than a collection of molecules, that the human heart emits a large electromagnetic field that extends well beyond our bodies, and that this electromagnetic field is either a design flaw that leaks energy and wastes metabolism, or it is the primary interface gateway between the physical world and the non-physical world, or metaphysical, between the molecular, biological, and the electromagnetic, or light or spiritual nature. We will look at some of the amazing breakthroughs in our understanding of DNA, that it's a 3 out of 4 digital error correcting code that is neither redundant or periodic. It has language, spelling, grammar, which make up volumes of data, an intricate system that random chance is incapable of producing. And we will look at the breakthrough discovery that has been called the wave genome, that all previous versions of our DNA are stored electromagnetically around the cell, and researchers have been able to birth extinct versions of animals and plants by accessing previous versions of their DNA. This breakthrough understanding completely transforms our understanding of life. These new discoveries show that the initial and primary blueprint of life is non-physical first, then physical, electromagnetic, then molecular arrangements, light, then matter. This revelation makes the idea that we randomly evolved by chance not only impossible, but so utterly simplistic and naive. Randomness is the absence of information, and information is the absence of randomness. The presence of one is evidenced by the absence of the other. It is physically impossible for random processes to accomplish the creation of our DNA on even the molecular level, but the electromagnetic level takes the complexity of the engineering to an order of magnitude more in sophistication. The engineering of life is much more complex than scientists have previously envisaged. We are often told by scientists that they have unlocked our DNA and the building blocks of life, but this is simply not so. They have an understanding of how cells function at a cellular level, but they still have no plausible understanding of how every cell configures itself in relation to itself to build an entire body. The mainstream biological understanding offers no reasonable explanation as to where the blueprint of all of you operates to tell each cell what it should be, how it should be positioned to build the whole body, and how the whole body should function. And some of the concepts in this teaching are not my own. In this session I hope to pull together many thoughts and discoveries from many sources, especially from Dr. Chuck Missler, who has pioneered teaching in these fields. Our minds have great difficulty dealing with more than 3 dimensions. We have to go to advanced mathematics to work with this kind of physics. But there are some tools that we can use to help visualize some aspects by going down to a 2-dimensional universe. And for this we're going to look at the world of flatlanders. The universe of a flatlander is only 2 dimensions. When a person in this world looks at another person, he doesn't see 2 dimensions, he sees a 1-dimensional image of the other person. We see a 2-dimensional picture, but in the flatlanders' world they can only see a 1-dimensional image. If I come along as a 3-dimensional person, I can put my finger and touch one of the flatlanders, and at the same time I can touch another flatlander with another finger. In fact, no matter where they are in their universe, I can touch them both at the same time, within their time and space. I can be closer to both of them as they can. I can be closer to them both than they can be to each other. By having an additional dimension, it makes such a difference to the ability to view and know what is happening inside of a smaller dimensional universe. If I put my finger through their universe, they will see a circle. If a ball comes flying through their universe, it will look like a point that suddenly appears, gets bigger to a circle, and then back to a point, and then disappears. So for a being outside of our space and time that exists in more than 3 physical dimensions of space, They would have some additional abilities and capabilities that we do not have. For example, they could instantly appear inside of a room without coming in through the door. They could disappear in the same way, just as my finger entering and exiting the world of flatlanders. So if I wanted to explain to a flatlander what a cube was, the only way I could show them to it would be to project it, or to unravel it so that they could actually unfold it, and then you could project within your mind how it would fold back together. Now if I want to show you in 3 dimensions what a 4-dimensional object, like a cube, looks like, then we can do a projection of a 4-dimensional cube, which is called a hypercube, and it looks like this. One way we can visualize this is we can unravel it. There is a way of unraveling a 4-dimensional hypercube into 3 dimensions, and it looks like this. A 4-dimensional cube unraveled in 3 dimensions. This famous painting is expressing that Christ's death is not a 3-dimensional event, but a 4-dimensional event. His death also travels through time to reconcile the past, the present and the future in one go. So we think of space as an empty vacuum, but modern science tells us it's anything but empty. 0-point energy is electromagnetic energy that fills the vacuum. It's intrinsic to the very fabric of space. It goes through everything in the universe. It goes through all of us right now. It's called 0-point energy as it's the energy that's left at absolute zero. Say you take a sealed container and pump out all the material so that there's no gas, there's no liquids, there's no solids, there's a perfect vacuum in the container. This was the definition of a vacuum in the 17th century. But then scientists discovered that the vacuum can contain temperature radiation, so you then have to cool the vacuum down to absolute zero of temperature, minus 273 degrees Celsius, and this is called a bare vacuum. It was then discovered in the 20th century that a bare vacuum contains an incredible amount of energy, which is called the 0-point energy, because it exists at absolute zero of temperature. It is electromagnetic waves of all wavelengths. They are distributed in an irregular pattern. There are very few long wavelengths, but the shorter the wavelength, the more of them there are. So at the atomic level, the 0-point energy is a seething mass of activity of these EM radiation and waves. It has a huge effect on atoms, but it has very little effect on larger objects. 0-point energy was discovered in the late 1800s. Today we now know that space has properties. If you take a cubic center of space, the 0-point energy cooled down to absolute zero, it still retains as much energy as 100 million suns. There is the residual energy, then it seems to be why electrons do not spiral into the nucleus. The atoms are sustained by this energy base. Time is not uniform. It is a physical property that varies with mass, acceleration and gravity, amongst other things. Einstein's greatest discovery was that the time is a physical dimension of the universe. It's not fixed and it's not uniform. Time varies depending on speed, mass, acceleration, the speed of light and other factors. One of the best ways to have an understanding of the nature of time is to go on a hypothetical trip to our nearest star. So assuming that there's 2 twin brothers and one goes on a space trip to Alpha Centauri, which is the closest star from Earth, and it's 4.5 light years away. That means if he was travelling at the speed of light, it would take 4.5 years to get there. Assuming he could fly at 50% of the speed of light, he could get there and back in 18 years, Earth time. But the clock in the spaceship would only have counted 16 years and 9 months. When he returned, he would be 2 years and 5 months younger than his twin brother. Now, if the spaceship could travel at 99.99% of the speed of light, the round trip would take 9 years on Earth time. But travelling at that speed, the speed of time would slow down, and the twin on the spaceship would have only been gone for 33 days. So when he returned back to Earth, the twin that went on the trip would be 8 years and 11 months younger than his twin on Earth when he returned. So the nature of time is not straightforward, it's not linear. It varies depending on speed, mass, acceleration and gravity. So when we are asked, how old is the universe? We need to know which age are you looking for? The age according to a clock on Earth? The age according to a clock at the center of the universe? The age according to the clock at the edge of the universe? Each clock would give a massively different readings. In fact, the mathematics to compensate for calculating the difference between time at a space-time coordinate on Earth relative to time at a space-time coordinate at the edge of the universe is 10 to the power of 12. So when you take a 16 billion year old universe, multiply it by 365 days to get the total number of days, and then divide it by the expansion factor, you get 6 24-hour days of time that have elapsed at the edge of the universe according to standard model physics. So what has the multiple dimensions got anything to do with us? This is not only the destination we will reach when we die, but it's a very spiritual component of our life beyond the 4 dimensionals of space-time. Scientists and particle physics now tell us that there is at least 10 dimensions of space and time. Nachmanides was a well-known Hebrew scholar of the 12th, 13th century. He concluded that by studying chapter 1 of Genesis that the universe consisted of 10 dimensions. 4 are directly knowable, 6 are not. Today scientists have spent billions building huge particle accelerators to study the nature of the universe and the fabric of space-time. And now they have discovered that the universe has at least 10 dimensions, 4 are directly measurable, which is the 3 spatial dimensions plus time, and 6 are curled into less than 10 to the minus 33 centimeters, and thus are only inferable by indirect means. There is a view, and it is just a view, that we originally had a 10-dimensional universe. Then with the fall of man and the curse, everything we know about the creation is from after the curse, so we have no idea what it was like before. But we know that there are other dimensions. In the Bible it refers to first heaven, second heaven, and the third heaven. Adam lost this at the fall. Many rabbis believe that Adam and Eve were clothed in light just as the angels are, and just as Jesus was at the Mount of Transfiguration, and all this was lost in the fall. God is not subject to the restrictions of mass or acceleration or gravity. He is not simply one with lots of time. He is outside of the restrictions of time. So if you were a higher dimensional being, you would have the ability to zoom out and view the whole of 3-dimensional space. And then when you add in time as the 4th dimension, you would be able to see the end from the beginning. You would have a unique viewpoint that was not available to us within the 3-dimensional space-time, and that would afford you many additional capabilities, such as knowing what would happen in the future, being able to simultaneously interface with multiple people at the same time. There would be many additional capabilities that would give you by having that extra dimensional capability. So in the Bible it tells us that man is made up of 3 distinct parts: the spirit, the soul, and the body. Man is made in the image of God. Man is male and female. Man is the only living being with the breath of God breathed into him. The spirit is the essence of who and what man is, his person, being, and life force. The human spirit is designed to relate to God. The spirit is the expression and manifestation of the soul. The soul is the mixture of particular qualities that contribute to making a man who and what he is. The soul is designed to accommodate and relate to the following: will, emotions, personality, intelligence, character, knowledge. The body is the house or earth suit in which the spirit and soul are housed and carries out the work of the soul and spirit. Man is a spirit that has a soul, both of which live in a body. I want to focus on the soul and the spirit, the essence of who we are, what it is constructed from, how does it interface with the biological and chemical construction of our bodies. When I look at you, I might see your face, but that's not the real you. I might see your body, but your body is not you. Your soul or spirit is the real you, and at this moment in time you live inside of a body. The experience of time only takes place when an object has mass. So we hear physicists talk about matter and antimatter. Matter is a particle that is travelling forwards through time. Antimatter is a particle that is travelling backwards through time. If an object has a heavy mass, it experiences time at a slower speed. If an object has no mass, it doesn't experience the 4th dimension of time at all. It is outside of time. It is eternal. And this is important when we look into the spiritual engineering of man. Electromagnetism has no mass, so it doesn't interface with time. So anything constructed from it does not interface with the 4 dimensions of time. It's timeless, it's eternal, it's outside of time, it's outside the restrictions of time. It does not have an end. We now know that our DNA is a 3 out of 4 error-correcting, self-replicating code consisting of over 3 billion elements, defining the manufacture and arrangement of hundreds of thousands of devices. And each device consists of a unique assembly selected from over 200 proteins. Each protein involving 300 atoms, each protein involving over 3,000 atoms in 3-dimensional configurations, all defined from an alphabet of 20 amino acids. This is a short clip from a film called Is Genesis History that explains how amazing our DNA really is.
But what we've heard in the conventional paradigm, the conventional story tells us that it's those random changes that has brought about all of this.
Sure. Back in the 1800s, when life was simple, when they didn't know what was happening inside the cell, didn't know how complex genetics was, you could imagine all sorts of things. But now that we know what actually happens behind the scenes, the story gets a lot more complicated. You see, I like to say the genome is 4-dimensional. Well, we have a 1-dimensional string called DNA. And if you want to draw that out, you'd have to write all the letters of DNA out on all 3 billion of them. And then you have to draw lines or arrows from one part to another part, because this part turns this part off, this part interferes with this part enhances this. It's this huge 2-dimensional interaction network. And that's where you have a 2-dimensional genome.
I mean, let me stop here for a second, because this is really amazing to think about this, because I think in terms of a computer program that it's fairly static. I mean, the instructions are there, but you're talking about a program that is reprogramming itself. It's modifying its own instructions.
Oh, wait till I get to the 4th dimension.
Oh, okay.
Because of the 3rd dimension first. The information in that 1st dimension, that linear string, has to be organized in such a way that when it falls into the 3rd dimension, it still works.
Oh, that's amazing.
Genes that are used together are next to each other in 3D space.
Are you saying that once this thing gets folded up, it's almost like we have a new set of instructions?
Yes, a new level of information.
Unbelievable.
That whoever programmed that 1st level needed to understand what was going to happen, have it work in the 3rd level.
But you said there's another dimension even.
Oh yeah, the 4th dimension is time.
And how does that work?
The genome changes shape over time. Maybe you eat something that's bad for you, and your liver says, I can get rid of that toxin. Now, the chromosomes in the liver will change shape, expose that new protein gene, make copies of it, build a brand new protein that can kill off that toxin, and when it's not needed anymore, they'll change shape again and fold back.
Oh my goodness.
Dynamic programming. All 3 levels change in the 4th level, time.
Rob, that's so far beyond anything that we know, even in our most complex software systems, that it's almost beyond imagination to think that someone would look at that and say it all happened by chance.
Yes, and it only brings glory to God.
It does.
You can't build something like that up one thing at a time. You need it to function. In all this interlocking 4-dimensional complexity, it's not something you can do one letter at a time with natural selection.
It all has to be there.
Yeah, in the same way when we talked about the environment out here on the coral reef, if you don't have all these interlocking pieces of that puzzle, you don't have that ecology. The system will come crashing down if you just remove a couple of very important factors that are there. They have to be together or it doesn't happen.
So not only did we have this interdependency, this mutualism, so to speak, down at the genetic level, now we even make it more complex by saying there is that same mutualism at the higher level as well.
Yes.
Our current scientific understanding is amazing, and as it shows us all the complexity in the biological and chemical makeup of DNA, and this turns out to be just the tip of the iceberg. This is only looking at the chemical and biological aspects of life. This is only looking at the molecular level DNA. The wave genome is a breakthrough understanding of our DNA. It shows that the electromagnetic aspects of life is our primary life. The biologic and chemical form is the lower level manifestation of this. Some of the most amazing discoveries in DNA is that the chemical DNA is only the current manifested version. All the previous versions are held in an electromagnetic field as a holographic inference pattern. This contains much more information, and scientists using lasers and high voltage electric magnetic fields, they've been able to take plant seeds and animal eggs and birth a previously extinct version of the DNA of the plant or animal, which means that there is a DNA database in the electromagnetic field, and this is the primary blueprint of life. Our chemical biological DNA is only a smaller part of the whole. The primary source of the genetic information is stored electromagnetically. We currently do not understand how the cells know how to assemble a whole body, what signal tells a stem cell what it should be and where it should be positioned and how it should function. But there is an electromagnetic force that organizes our bodies. There are still many unknowns in biology. One of the greatest unknowns is with viruses. When they attack a cell, they don't just attack it as soon as they get there. They wait outside until there's sufficient of them to achieve victory. So these are tiny microscopic viruses and bacteria that are exhibiting military attack tactics, yet they're too small for any neural networks to exist within them. There's not enough molecules for that, but they're clearly displaying intelligent tactics and functions. So there must be an overarching control system that is telling them when to attack. There's something that we don't know, that it doesn't exist physically. They've studied it and they can't find any trace of chemical or pheromone or hormonal signals are being used. The most likely source is there's some kind of electromagnetic signaling that's interfacing all these viruses, which opens up a new range of potential medical technology. If we can find out what this signal is, we can jam it and block it to stop these viruses communicating and stop them from being able to attack the body. The human heart has been measured to emit a 1 to 2 meter electromagnetic field. Every time the brain neuron fires, it releases an electromagnetic discharge. From the worldly humanistic viewpoint, these facts are not even examined, they are just ignored. If you've ever had a heart MRI scan, the field of the heart is so strong that the sensitivity of the scanner has to be adjusted so that the sensor is not oversaturated by the field strength. And that this is accepted, but it's not examined. Why? Why does the human heart throw out all this energy? What is it for? Why does the heart have such a huge electromagnetic field? Is it a design flaw that's leaking energy? Or is it an interface gateway between the molecular and the electromagnetic? We are told that our internal personality is nothing but the construct of our neurology developed over time with experiences. And then if that was true, why would all this electromagnetic complexity exist? The engineering in the realm of light is orders of magnitude more complex and sophisticated than we know about. We are all familiar with the phrase gut feeling, but what is the gut feeling? Why does every one of us today have an experience of this? Why we have an internal guidance system of right or wrong, or sometimes what the right thing to do at any moment in time, and we can feel it. The emotion of anger, when we feel it, it's either in our heart or it's in our belly. And why is this? What biological reason is there for that? If our consciousness is just the product of our neural function of our brain, then all the emotions should take place at that physical point in the body. There is no physiological reason why a sensation should be felt in the gut. This very teaching is talking about things about how we are actually made. So for a born-again, spirit-filled Christian, they will have an experience hearing this, and it will most likely be a positive one. If you're not a born-again, spirit-filled Christian, then something about this teaching will be irritating you quite significantly. And if you look inside your body, which physical point in the body is the sensation of irritation coming from? I'd bet good money that it's right in your gut. Why is that? What is it that's physically there that could have that effect? There is nothing physiological there that could have that sensation. This is an electromagnetic experience that you're having. This is an external interface signal that is causing these emotions to be felt physiologically within your body. Your mind's reacting to them. But what is the source of that external input that would create a sensation of happiness or anger? There is so much more to us than we're currently told. Our engineering is far more complex than the basic instructions that we get given in biology at school. The biological functions of life are very simplistic in comparison to the electromagnetic and the quantum levels physics. In fact, our current understanding looks so trivial and ignorant when we look into the wave holography of the genome and the particle energy quantum physics that makes up our universe. Scientists have barely begun to truly understand how the universe is made. So if our personality, if our spirit is electromagnetic, this is profound because electromagnetism has little to no mass, which means it doesn't interface with time, which means that component of our engineering is outside of time. It's timeless. It doesn't die with the body. It exists outside of the body right now, interfacing through the body, through the various electromagnetic systems of the body, but it is not of the body. It is not powered by the body. It is external to the body. It's not hard to see why the youth of today are so lost. They are told that they are a random accident that happened all by itself for no good reason in particular. They either got lucky or unlucky with the gene pool lottery, and if they got unlucky, the best they can do is try and instruct their offspring to make 4,000 to 5,000 years of good breeding mate decisions, and then they can evolve up the food chain of life. It's no surprise they are so hopeless. What a miserable view of the world that they are given. They believe they have no purpose, and they have totally disconnected character from destiny, and it is such a lie. Every one of us is born with a purpose. Every one of them has a potential destiny that they should choose to develop their character to be compatible with that future. We are not a random collection of cells that just happen to mutate in the right way. In fact, when you get inside the engineering of a cell, it is impossible for a mutation to add any new information. We are not the random product of an ape. We are a highly designed and unbelievably sophisticated being, a being of light, made of light, in a universe constructed of light, by light.